Hello and welcome into CHGO White Sox Podcast. We are joining you live from our respective homes because there's some national political event going on in the West Loop this whole week. So we will be joining you via remote this whole week. My name is Herb Lawrence. Follow me on Twitter at Ecknerwall23. The guy in the middle is Vinnie Duber. He is a CHGO White Sox beat writer. And the guy all the way to the stage right is Jared Wyllys. The sock is blocking his name. Sorry, Socko, or Brawler Sock is blocking his name, but Jay Wyllys on Twitter, Y's instead of I's in that Wyllys name. We today are going to be going over an immaculate grid. We're going to have a trivia between these two gentlemen. If you want to join in at the live show, you can do that in the comment section all the time. Also, we will have some of your mailbag questions, which are from our CHGO Discord lounge. If you want to become a CHGO Discord member and a CHGO diehard, just like Tim, Curtis, Sandy, Anthony, Eric, Kevin, Dakota, and Michael became over the weekend, go to allchgo.com and become a diehard today. You get access to our CHGO Discord. You can ask us questions in the CHGO Discord, like we're going to be doing that third segment. You get a free t-shirt, like the one I have on right now of some Blackhawk player named Connor Bedard, or one of the other ones for free when you become a CHGO diehard member, and then 20% off of future merch and 20% off of all events, including the CHGO Bears tailgates that are going to be going on this year. In our second segment, we'll have our conversation about Dominic Fletchers. There's an article today on allchgo.com by our own Vinnie Duber about Dominic Fletcher and his role in this White Sox and how it's increased since the new manager, Grady Sizemore, has taken over. But in first segment, we will be talking about this series right now. The White Sox travel out to San Francisco, beautiful ballpark out there, Oracle Park. I went in 2022 when the White Sox swept the San Francisco Giants back in the day. I think they ended up with the identical 81 and 81 records that year, but that is the best ballpark in baseball by far, in my opinion. And so the White Sox, if your guys are headed out there right now today to see this game and listening to this as a preview, have a fun time. If you haven't been out to Oracle Park, it is a must-see for you guys. But this series, while it has nothing really for the White Sox to do as far as contention, they got eliminated on Saturday. Any of you gentlemen, any storylines you gentlemen are looking forward to in these three games coming up? Vinny, we'll start with you. Anything that catches your eye as far as the three games they have in San Francisco?
It's got to be the starting pitching, at least in terms of what you can forecast, right? Listen, there's some guys who are in that lineup every night now who you do want to keep your eyes on for the future. We're going to be talking about one of them, Dominic Fletcher, here coming up. But in terms of what the White Sox are playing for, which is improvement for 2025 or improvement in their rebuilding project as a whole, you got to follow these starting pitchers on a nightly basis. Herb, you and I talked about it yesterday with Kai Busch and what he was able to do yesterday in Houston. Well, Jonathan Cannon tonight, Davis Martin tomorrow night, Garrett Crochet, of course, on Wednesday. We've gotten to that point in the season now where basically every night, with just one exception, Chris Flexen's out there still humming along in terms of veterans, but basically every night you're looking at somebody who could play a pretty big role in this thing moving forward. Obviously, there's a lot of talk about where Garrett Crochet is going to end up before the start of next season, and we have months to find out the answer to that question. But in terms of the Cannons and the Kai Bushes and the Davis Martins, these are guys who are playing for jobs in that rotation of the future, and certainly they have plenty of time before that is going to manifest itself, before they're actually playing for something, this White Sox team. But these individual guys are playing for something right now, and that's their future standing with this team. So you're watching the journey firsthand, and just because those guys are important doesn't mean that every single outing is full of high stakes for them necessarily. But this is development in action in terms of especially guys like Bush and Cannon. Davis Martin's obviously got a little bit more major league experience, and Garrett Crochet is just kind of his own special thing out there. But these guys are trying to put together something for the future. And this week in San Francisco, they're all three going to go at it.
And as far as you, Jared, there's a matchup tonight. Jonathan Cannon, his last start was, if you recall, versus the Yankees, where he gave up 2 home runs, a 2-run shot and a solo shot to Juan Soto. I mean, it's no, big thing. It's Juan Soto. He only pitched 4 2/3 innings, gave up those 3 runs, walked 3, and struck out 4, I believe. And so he's coming off what would be considered a fine, meh kind of a outing, because that was the only runs he did give up, but he didn't have the length out there. For the most part, his rookie season has been really solid. He'll be going up against a fellow rookie tonight, and Kyle Harrison, who was a left-handed pitcher for the San Francisco Giants. Even though he pitched last year for 7 games, he is still designated as a rookie. His last start was not as good, but the White Sox lineup hasn't been posted yet, so I can't tell you how he's going to be doing. But any person or storylines that you'll be following for these next 3 days in San Francisco?
Yeah, I mean, generally speaking, kind of playing off of what Vinny said, I do think that's the big storyline for the next 5 weeks or so is the development of some of these young players, looking at guys who you think could play a role in 2025 and beyond, and the opportunities that they're going to get to learn at the major league level, which means, yeah, you're going to see some of the good, some of the bad. But anytime we've seen this in the past with other rebuilding teams when they're late in a season like this, where, they've been out of, they were technically eliminated over the weekend, but we all know they've been out of contention for a long time. So this is the point in the season when you see some of these guys get the type of runway that they might not get earlier in the year. I'm thinking even of somebody like Brooks Baldwin, who, this is the time to give guys like him the opportunities to play as much as possible, if nothing else, to see what you have, and to watch how he responds and develops both at the plate, on the field. And on the other side of things, I mean, the Giants are still, just from a general baseball perspective, the Giants still have a lot to play for right now. They're sitting at 500. They're just 4 games out of the very, very tight National League wildcard race. So no fan ever wants their team to be like playing the role of the spoiler, but here's an opportunity to go in and have an impact on a playoff race, because the Giants are really still very much in that mix. So they've got a lot on the line the next several weeks of their season. So, they may be looking at a series like the White Sox and thinking, oh, hey, we can pick up some wins here. But as we all know, that's any given team, any given day, and all of that stuff. But yeah, I think the main thing is just, I want to see some of these young guys, like Vinny mentioned, the pitching staff is really, to me, the most exciting, the most intriguing storyline over the next several weeks. But yeah, there are a few other younger guys on the other side of the ball that I see more at-bats from and that sort of thing, and see how they do.
Again, the pitching matchup, Jonathan Cannon tonight versus Kyle Harrison. Davis Martin on Tuesday versus Robbie Ray, 2003 Tommy John surgery recipients coming back for their 5th and 6th starts this year, respectively. And then, as Vinny alluded to, Garrett Crochet versus Logan Webb on Wednesday afternoon. That is the marquee matchup. I wish this was earlier in the year, where Garrett Crochet had no limitations instead of the 3-4 innings that he will pitch on Wednesday, because his last start was so sparkling. He gave up only 1 earned run, struck out 9 in his 4 innings that he did pitch. But the theme that I'm kind of getting in the early series that Grady Sizemore has managed, the first game versus the Cubs, they got down early 7-0, and then came back. They lost that game 7-6. The first game versus the Yankees, they caught the Yankees off guard or something and just had an explosion with the most runs they scored this season with 12-2 victory. And then the first game versus the Houston Astros, they scored and won 5-4 on Garrett Crochet's last start. Is there more of the White Sox are playing better earlier in the series, or is it more these teams are not ready for the White Sox and taking the White Sox for granted initially and then eventually winning the series? What do you think, Vinny?
I think maybe there's something to be said about getting a little jolt from a new opponent or a new set, right? You've lost the previous series or maybe split it in some cases, and now all of a sudden here you go, a fresh start kind of thing, go out and get them kind of deal. I don't know, this White Sox team has lost so many games and played so poorly in so many first games of the series, and then that to have a few here might be a little bit just of an outlier or something like that. But I don't think you can doubt the energy that they have played with over the last few games under Grady Sizemore. You even saw it in an interview that some of my colleagues had down in Houston with a guy who was brought up to serve in that bench coach role, and Doug Sisson kind of fired up a little bit, right? I mean, a guy who's obviously been around this organization for a while, been around baseball forever, and is showing some displeasure or disapproval with how this team is playing this deep into a season in which they are well out of it. I mean, actually out of it already. And maybe there is a little bit of new energy in that clubhouse and a new way of doing things slightly, right? So I don't want to count out the idea that maybe they could take some of that and run with it against the Giants or any other opponent they have on the schedule the rest of the way. But certainly Grady Sizemore's tenure as a manager is in the ridiculously small sample size stage at the moment.
And Jared, do you think there's such a thing as playing spoiler? I mean, I know the White Sox have only won 30 games, the 100 plus games that they played, 30 and 95 right now. But is there motivation for the White Sox to say a team that is 63 and 63 in the Giants and say, you know what, we might not be going to the playoffs and we have pride in ourselves, but the one thing that we want to be doing, and possibly if we can, keep other teams out of the playoffs because they play so many of those teams going down the stretch here?
Yeah, I mean, I think generally speaking, they go into every game. They want to beat everybody that they play. They wake up each day expecting to win that day. But yeah, I think there has to be something to knowing the importance of these games for the other side. And it may just purely be like, hey, we're not going to just roll over and die for you. We've got some pride to play for here too. And like I said earlier, the perspective that teams can have sometimes, even though they don't really say it publicly, but like coming into a series and looking at a weaker team, and in this case, a much weaker team, and thinking to yourselves like, hey, these are 3 games that we should be able to win. I do think there's extra meaning to that. But like I said, these guys, they genuinely do. I think they go into each game expecting to win, believing that they can. Obviously, this season has been a whole lot of that not working out. But I think back to what Vinnie brought up with Doug Sisson is just the importance of not only playing to win these games, but for players who are developing under the right circumstances. Because what you don't want for some of these young guys is playing in games where they are not only losing but playing fundamentally poor baseball, because that's not, for the long term, that's not helping them. This is causing you problems that are going to extend beyond this season. So, yeah, I think there is a little something to playing spoiler, but a lot of it just has to do with we want to go out there and play quality baseball. We think we can beat anybody.
Yeah, that Doug Sisson conversation really struck me as something as positive, that's what they're going to be expecting. And, saying a thing is one thing, actually implement it is another thing. There's no time like the present for these coaches to put their hands on these players and say, hey, we're going to mold you in the way we need you to do in the future, as I always talk about process. And they can get this going right now. They don't have to wait until spring training, until the new manager is going, and just get the, lackadaisical play. Some of the plays where, you get some errors initially. I know it was the first showing of some of these players, so they're not necessarily used to what White Sox baseball should be. But I'm glad that Doug Sisson and other coaches and the rest of the organization sees that there's a problem here, not just we're injured all the time. No, we're fundamentally flawed as far as a team, as far as baseball IQ, as far as throwing to the right runner, and etc. There's one player that, as of lately, has been playing his tail off, especially out there in the field. And Vinnie Duber wrote an article about him. And we'll get to that in a second. But we'll get to this $5 super chat from our guy, Baloney Fonseca. Congrats to all the entire All-City Network team on the big news. Keep up the great work, fellas. Cheers. And if you haven't heard the big news, go check out Joe Pompliano's Twitter and his Substack. You get all the information, what's going on with the All City network there. I don't want to necessarily go into it right now because we got to go to a break. But after the break, we will talk about Dominic Fletcher and what he's been doing as of late when he's got a chance to start and what the role that Grady Sizemore plays in that. But first, let's talk to our guy, Jarrett, about CDJR.
Yeah, guys, we're getting into late August. School's back in session in some parts of this state, so it might start to feel like summer is almost over, but you can still shop summertime savings that are going on right now at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram and save on the perfect new vehicle for you. This August, you can score new lower prices across their huge inventory during the Make This the Summer event. For a limited time, get 0% financing for 36 months. I did the math, that's 3 years. 36 months on most of their new 2024 Jeep models. Or you can shop over 125 vehicles priced under $20,000. Let the amazing team at Ray CDJR help you during each step of your car shopping journey. With Ray's price promise, the numbers you're hearing now are the same prices you can expect to shop in store and online. That's because Ray's price promise means no price changing, no add-ons, and no hidden fees. We all hate those hidden fees. Since they prioritize affordability for their customers, hurry into Ray CDJR today and shop one of the Chicago area's largest inventories. Then drive home with more money in your pocket than you'd expect. So, if you're in the market for a new vehicle, then you have to check out the team at Ray Chrysler Dodge Jeep and Ram because they are the only team we recommend. Visit them today on Route 12 in Fox Lake for more information. Visit Ray CDJR in Fox Lake or raycdjr.com. They have been serving the community since 1963.
And Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to first pitch. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater events nearest you. With killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their best price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. I've bought tickets down there in Atlanta, went to Truist Field, and looked to all the rest of the secondary sites, and I found one that had a lower price in the section and row that I was sitting in. I sent this information to Game Time. Within 12 minutes, I got 110% of the difference into my account because Game Time is the only ticketing app that gives you complete peace of mind with your purchase. See the views from your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you do arrive. All-in prices show your total up front so you know you're getting a great deal without any of the hidden fees. And at Game Time, they're obsessed with finding you ways to save money on tickets. Game Time has deals of tickets right up to the start of the event and even an hour after that event starts. It's the place to go to find last-minute seats. And with zone deals, you pick the section, Game Time picks the seat for an average of 18% savings. And the Game Time guarantee means that you'll always get the best price if you find tickets in the same section or row for less. Game Time will credit you 110% of the difference. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use the code CHGO for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account, redeem code CHGO for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Now, as of late, Dominic Fletcher, he has played and started in 6 games since the great Grady Sizemore has taken over as the manager for the Chicago White Sox. And he's looking, and especially yesterday's game, just like the guy that we envisioned him to be when the White Sox did trade for him in the offseason. He was given the right fielder, earned the right fielder starting job initially this year, and then injuries and other people like Tommy Pham being signed and getting majority of the playing time cut down his time. Vinny, as of late, you has been spoken to people in the clubhouse, including manager Grady Sizemore. What has gone into both this Dominic Fletcher more playing time and also the good playing time that Dominic Fletcher has had?
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is the opportunity that I think we all expected was going to come way, way earlier this season, right? But none of us expected that they were going to make that gamble on Tommy Pham. And in hindsight, it's a gamble that didn't really pay off that much. Obviously, he was part of the trade that brought back some young players at the trade deadline, but you wonder if he how much of that was him on his own, and how much of that is that very low risk, admittedly, signing that the White Sox made really paying off. You don't really know, and it certainly didn't strike as very much of a return for him individually off the bat. But he's gone finally, and so Dominic Fletcher. Let's also remember that Dominic Fletcher had some injuries that he dealt with this year, so it's not all just Tommy Pham coming in and usurping his playing time, but finally he gets this chance. And we heard from Chris Getz way back in spring training that Dominic Fletcher was going to be getting the lion's share of the playing time, right? Getting the bulk of that action out in right field. Here he's finally getting it. And I don't know if the managerial change was necessary to get him it, or if it's just that time of the year, but he's running with it, right? And he's showing, especially defensively, what he can do. But he's had a couple multi-hit games, in that last handful that you were just talking about there. So not exactly nothing at the plate either. It's a guy who they obviously thought enough of to trade a pretty well-regarded pitching prospect way back before the spring started. Here he is now, finally getting that consistent playing time, and I think that does make a big difference. I mean, I'm not ready to assign good defensive play to the mental effects of being told that you're going to be playing most every day, but it's possible. It's something, and I don't think you can discount it. I think here's the White Sox realizing that this guy could be a part of the future, of the long term for them. Let's go out and see what he's got. And Herb, I know you and I discussed it plenty over the months, and it's probably something that they should have been doing for a long time now, given the state of this season. But they felt that Tommy Pham gamble was worth it. Well, whether it was or wasn't, we finally arrived at a place now where Dominic Fletcher can be the guy in right field, and it looks like he's running with that opportunity.
And Dominic Fletcher is listed as a rookie because this is really his first full year of playing baseball, but he'll be 27 in September. So next year looks like a year for Dominic Fletcher, maybe to take over that right fielder's job. Jared, do you think that a strong August and September could have the White Sox thinking, okay, we don't need to go outside this organization. We have our starting right fielder here?
Yeah, this is definitely the time for him to seize the opportunity to establish that, or at least position himself going into spring training as who they envision as being their starting right fielder. Because we know that the weeks of spring training can change things sometimes, but I think you can go into the offseason at least positioning yourself that way, so that the White Sox as an organization don't feel like they need to make a move for someone to add an outfielder to try to work on filling that spot. And he's somebody who I remember, the first series or so of the season, at the very beginning of the year, watching him, and it was his defense that stood out to me. So, now that he's getting this regular playing time, it's kind of falling in line with what I was watching him do on the field back in very early April. So, yeah, I think this is, like some of the other guys on the roster, this is the time to seize that opportunity and position yourself that way, so that in the conversation for starting right fielder, you're on the top of that list going into spring training. And then he can continue to use that time in February and March next year, so that when they break camp to start the year, he's that guy. And yeah, I think even as like an older rookie, there's something to be said for that too, because they sometimes don't have the ups and downs that younger rookies will have sometimes as they're developing. On the other side of town, we're seeing that with Michael Busch, who he's in his rookie season, but he's 26 years old. So he's had a solid year for them. And, I'm not making a direct comparison there, but just as a guy who's a little bit older in his first season, isn't necessarily going to be as volatile in terms of the results as somebody who's 22 or 23.
Well, and you talk about next year and what that might look like for Fletcher. I don't see why Fletcher wouldn't be already, penned in basically as the guy in right field. What was Chris Getz's objective with almost all the moves that he made this offseason? It was to improve the defense, right? It was to improve the fundamental parts. And it basically across the board hasn't worked at all. They're the worst defensive team in baseball. But one guy who has played very well defensively, especially from a statistical standpoint, is Fletcher. And so you could look at that as a small, because he hasn't played as much as you probably thought he was going to, but a small bit of success in addressing what you wanted to spend the offseason addressing. So I see the offseason playing out very similarly to the way it did last year in terms of the White Sox activity. I think they're going to be looking for more low-cost additions, right? I don't think we're going to be seeing, the payroll go up, if even stay flat, right? And so Fletcher fits that bill perfectly as somebody who is both inexpensive and is a proven thing that addresses a proven player who addresses a need that you said you were addressing last year that they basically didn't end up addressing. Yeah, they addressed it all right, but not successfully. Here's a guy that they can hang their hat on and saying, that's one of the guys we went, and he did improve the defense just a little bit. Of course, it wasn't enough to make the team defense much better, but you can put him into the mix for next year and say, all right, that's at least one area where we know we can be confident in what he's going to do defensively, fundamentally, and I guess they can sit back and hope, like they did this past offseason, that the offense comes around as well.
If you want to read more about that, allchgo.com, Vinnie Duber has an article up right now. He wrote this afternoon about Dominic Fletcher finally getting his chance in right field. And to speak to what Vinnie was just talking about as far as Fletcher's numbers, Sports Info Solutions had a tweet out today that Dominic Fletcher has played in 16 games in right field this season. He has 7 good fielding plays. That's a lot. 5 of them are highlight reel catches, including the one in the infographic they have him robbing the home run the other day off of Yainer Diaz. Fletcher is tied for right field lead in defensive runs saved. And that's a huge deal because the guy he's tied with, Joe Adell from the Angels, has, 754 more innings in right field than Fletcher, 864 to Fletcher's 107. And this is an accumulating stat. So he's been playing defense at a high level. And so maybe it took, demotions and getting all the way healthy for him to get here. But, I always lament not playing him for 100+ games this year, but understood it's already in the past. So the White Sox need to just nurture what they have right now. And yes, he doesn't have a lot of pop or bat as of late, or as of this whole season, but as of late, he's slashing 318, 348, and 364 in Vinny's article for his at bat on base and his slugging and 711 OPS. If he can do that at a consistent basis, you're going to take that as the White Sox. Yes, he can't hit the ball over the fence as yet, but that will probably develop. And if he's a 10 to 15 home run guy in his career, that would be probably the high end of where his production should be. But I have no problem with the White Sox looking at him and what he does defensively and saying, you know what? Yeah, a traditional right fielder or corner outfielder would have a little bit more pop and a little bit more slug for us. But we got a gem here and one of the best defensive right fielders in the game right now. Let's keep him out there and let's play him as much as we can. I know the Oscar Colases and the Zach DeLoaches are down in the minor leagues, but it's this guy's chance. And he's proven with the short period of time that he's already at the top of the league in that category. He's 4th in StatCast range above average with 3. The leader's at 5. That's Jackson Chourio. He's played much more games than what Fletcher has played. And he's tied for 5th in StatCast fielding run value at 2. The leader again is 7 with Jackson Chourio. So he's playing at the top of the league as far as defensive stats go. And so I think the White Sox got something out there in Dominic Fletcher, something that we didn't see earlier in the year. And now he's showing his stuff out there. Now he has a really tough job. Now the first 2 pitchers for the San Francisco Giants are left-handed starters. So I expect him to sit down on one of these, if not both of these games. But that right field out there in San Francisco is a thing. So if he is going to be continuing his stellar play in right, he's got his work cut out for him in this game and this series. We will be talking about our Mailbag Monday, the people who need to, who are in our CHGO Diehard Discord. have sent us questions, and we'll be answering them after the break. And also, we'll have an Immaculate Grid trivia, but I got to get the Sunnyside read up because our friends at Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary are here to elevate your summer. Sunnyside is your home for judgment-free cannabis shopping. They have a crazy selection with over 100 different strains to choose from, with easy online ordering and in-store pickup. Wherever you are in Illinois, Sunnyside has a location for you. They have spots as far south as Champaign and as far north as South Beloit. They have one here in Wrigleyville, which I usually frequent, one in River North, which I have frequented in the past. But you can shop in the store nearest you for expert guidance from their staff or select from the quality lines from Cresco or Floracal. Here for the summer is Good News Tea Time Disposable Vape, bringing classic lemonade flavor, perfect for the golf course because we all need a little help being loose on the green. And spirit-free vapes and cartridges are all new from Good News. With a lush mango flavor, these vapes are perfect for tapping into your flower power. I'm picking up some Good News gummies at Sunnyside in Lakeview, and you can too by visiting sunnyside.shop for bright buys every day, including a 50% off your first 3 online purchases. Enter promo code HICHGO at checkout to qualify. And I've learned all caps, HICHGO. That works to qualify. Exclusions apply. Sunnyside Cannabis Dispensary. Bright buys every day, only for 21 plus or Illinois medical card holders.
All right, Herb, get ready for the season ahead with quality shades that are built to last. Our friends over at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades that will not break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company offering a world-class product rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people. Their shades have durable frames and crystal clear optics, making them the perfect choice for all outdoor adventures. They have hundreds of options to choose from, so you're bound to find the perfect pair to match your style. They probably have a style in your favorite team's colors. And since you're probably a White Sox fan, black is a pretty standard sunglasses color. So I would imagine they got you covered there. I wear Shady Rays all the time, all over the city, whether you're going for a walk by the lake, whether you're sitting in traffic on the Kennedy, whatever you're doing out in the sunshine, Shady Rays are good for you. If your shades ever go missing or take an unexpected hit, don't sweat it. They have the most insane protection in all of eyewear. Every pair is backed by lost or broken replacements. If you don't love your shades, exchange for a new pair or return worry-free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our wonderful CHGO listeners, Shady Rays is giving out their best deal of the season. Head to shadyrays.com and use the code CHGO for 35% off polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself the shades rated 5 stars by over 300,000 people.
I got to unmute myself. Had some breaking news. And breaking news is brought to you by Indeed. It's not really breaking news. The White Sox made a roster move tonight. They added Enyel De Los Santos to the 26-man active roster and optioned to Class AAA Charlotte right-handed pitcher Matt Foster, who just came off the 60-day IL. Anything there?
This is what you miss when you're doing a Shady Rays read, Herb. You don't even see the email sitting in your inbox. You're too busy talking about those great sunglasses, and you don't even see that little red dot on the mail icon, Enyel De Los Santos. Listen, we talked about him yesterday, Herb. Just a very interesting move given what's happened over the last week. Enyel De Los Santos gives up 7 runs to the White Sox, gets DFA'd, gets claimed by the White Sox, and now he's on the White Sox. So a short-lived return for Matt Foster, but Enyel De Los Santos is going to be wearing the jersey of the team that knocked him around just a week ago tonight.
Hey, maybe in scoring 7 runs on him, they felt like they saw something, and they can tap into it. Vinny, I was tempted to interrupt you during that ad read because this breaking news was dropping as you were reading it, but I resisted the temptation.
I don't think Enyel De Los Santos, at least at this stage in his career, counts as something that is worth interrupting a Shady Rays read for, Jared.
Yeah, Enyel De Los
Especially not
Santos
Shady Rays.
is a 28-year-old journeyman right-handed relieving pitcher. He's played with the Phillies, the Pirates, the Guardians, the Padres, the Yankees, and now he is on the White Sox. Padres, Yankees, and White Sox all in 2024. So he's been passed around a good bunch. Nothing really there, but, as you said, Vinny, maybe there's something the White Sox pitching staff and Brian Bannister and Ethan Katz saw in him during his days in travel. This is the way I would love for White Sox to form their bullpen, by picking up cheap alternatives with live arms instead of paying big bucks like they did a couple of years ago. And, I know that their bullpen hasn't been great this year, but throwing anything against the wall and see if it sticks is probably a great thing for the White Sox. And get him in the pitching lab in the offseason and see if he might be something, or if he just comes in these games and is just the regular Eniel De Los Santos he's been with the Padres and the Yankees. You can easily DFA him then. So
it's like the definition of the low risk, not even high reward necessarily, but just super low risk, and maybe he helps you out in your bullpen going forward. But yeah, if he continues to pitch the way that he has, it costs you nothing to just let him go.
Okay, and now we have our Mailbag Monday. As I told you, it is CHGO's Discord lounge. If you want to become a diehard, you get access to our CHGO Discord, just like our guy Ian Robo. He joins us from across the pond. He's from London, England. Folks, I'm sorry, Ian. When I go there next year, I'm going to do that voice all the damn time, and they're going to hate me there. Well, they already probably do. Yes, is there a reason we are not DFAing Nick Senzel, Yoan, and Jolks? He said Golks, but Jolks, and bring up some other players. Vinny, I'm going to leave that to you.
Yeah, I mean, I think those are certainly three very different situations. I think I've talked over and over again about how I still don't know why Nick Senzel is on this team, and I'm not quite sure many of the White Sox coaching staff know that he's on the team. I don't believe he has played in a game since Grady Sizemore took over. I think the last game that he played in was the second game of that Oakland series when Pedro Grifol was still the manager. I don't know what he's doing on the roster, and clearly his spot on the roster is not of use to this current manager or coaching staff, at least not in the last 8 games or 9 games that he hasn't played in. So I don't know on that front. Yoan Moncada is a different story. He's a guy who's been with the team for his whole big league, the vast majority of his big league career. Obviously, the clock is about to run out on him. They are not going to pick up that option of his. It is very, very expensive, and he is a guy who has barely been on the field this season. You would think that Yoan Moncada, we've heard about the updates from his rehab assignment, and that he's kind of ready to go from a physical standpoint, but it's the player who continues to feel that he is being held back by the injury still, that he is feeling something, that he's maybe worried about re-aggravating it. You would think these would be some valuable days for Yoan Moncada as he would try to get himself a job for next year, because I don't know right now if he doesn't play again this season, is he going to get anything more than a minor league contract from somebody next year after barely playing in each of the last 2 seasons? What a drastic difference that is from what could have been the option getting picked up and getting him $20-some million for next year. So we'll see what happens with Yoan Moncada the rest of the year. But at last update, Grady Sizemore really couldn't give you an answer whether he was even going to play again for them this year or not. And then Corey Jolks, that was a pretty low risk pickup. That is a guy who's got some control left, plenty of control left on him. Maybe he's one of these guys that we keep talking about, right? Oh, maybe he does something. Maybe you see something in him and you can keep him around for a while. Low risk, right? Completely low risk. So those are 3 different situations. But at this point, I mean, even if you're of the opinion that they could cut Yoan Moncada today and, nothing would be changing from whether he's going to actually be here the rest of the year or not. Who do they need that roster spot for? Right. I mean, he's on the injured list. He's on the 60-day injured list, I believe. So he's not even taking up a 40-man spot right now. I'm not quite sure that getting rid of him does anything for you. You still got to pay him his salary for the remainder of the year. But again, I am continue to be stumped on the Nick Senzel front.
And you're correct. August 5th is the last time that Nick Senzel actually played for the White Sox. He's got an OPS plus of -17 in his White Sox tenure. So really bad. But you gave an answer there about what Grady Sizemore had to say about Yoan Moncada. Is a non-update an answer in its own way?
Maybe. But I truly think that the White Sox don't know because it's not in their control, right? They can't look at an MRI, or they can't look at an X-ray, or they can't even look at a doctor's assessment and say, or a trainer's assessment and say, okay, this will heal in X days, because I think it's healed from what we hear, right? I mean, from what the update was. And again, this is going on an update that was from Pedro Grifol. So this is from a while ago now, or it might've been from Chris Getz even, but it was from like July, I think. Remember, the estimate was that he was going to be back, shortly after the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't think that there's anything that the White Sox can do to get him back on the field. Yoan Moncada, and listen, I understand it from his standpoint too. If you go to run, or if you go to play third base and you think you feel something and it's preventing you from doing your job, that's a problem. I wouldn't want to go out there and play on it either. And I can see where he's coming from. But I don't believe that it's in the White Sox control. They just have to keep checking in with Yoan and say, okay, are you confident today? Are you able to go play today? And so far they haven't gotten that answer, because he's not even in rehab games down there, to my knowledge. So, it's been a while since he's even played like a complex league game. I believe he's still out in Arizona. So, they don't really know what's going to happen with him, and we're running out of time for him to get back on the field before the season's over.
Been a couple of head scratching moves that Chris Getz and staff has made this year. The Nick Senzel move, when it initially came, I was like, I don't know. It's not like the Iniel de los Santos as we just talked about, as far as like seeing if something sticks. We pretty much have a big picture on what Nick Senzel is and what he isn't, and it wasn't going to work here at the White Sox. And so you've already tried him out. It's been a brief stint. He shouldn't be on the team anymore. I mean, good luck to the guy. If he can just collect a Major League Baseball check for the rest of the season and then maybe catch on with somebody else next year, God bless. But yeah, there's no reason for Nick Senzels of the world to be on a Major League roster, especially this team who's 30 and 95. This one's for you, Jared. It's from our guy, AJ. AJ asks, what's Jared's day-to-day at CHGO like? I feel like he's the least visible of the baseball guys, and I'm interested to know his workflow. How often is he in the press box, etc.? People want to know about you, Jared.
Well, AJ, thanks for the question. Yeah, I think my situation's maybe a little different because I do bounce back and forth and cover both the Cubs and the White Sox. So I've got my foot in both camps a little bit. And it's a lot of weekend games for me. So I think I don't show up on the podcast as much, some of those post-game shows, because I'm there on like a Saturday night or something, and there's, there aren't shows. You don't see me there on some of those shows. And honestly, I'm not as good looking as Herb and Vinnie. So I think there's, they know what they're doing. I've got a voice for radio, or a face for radio, but I also have, I've got a full-time day job. So this baseball writing stuff is, in addition to that. So my day-to-day is also occupied with some other things, but yeah, you see me at the ballpark still pretty often, but yeah, it's a lot of weekend games. So this weekend, for example, I'll be there for Tigers White Sox Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, just all three of those glorious games. But yeah, that's hopefully that answers AJ's question.
It definitely does. And while you're talking, the White Sox have released their lineup. It is leading off. Lenning Sosa playing second base. Luis Robert Jr. playing center field and batting second. Playing first base and batting third is Andrew Vaughn. Catching is Corey Lee in the cleanup spot. Third baseman is Miguel Vargas. And guess what, Vinny? Designated hitter. Hitting sixth, Nick Senzel.
He's back.
Speak about the devil, and he appears.
The first Nick Senzel action since Grady Sizemore took over as manager. How about that?
Yeah, and then
it's been 8 games. This is the 9th game.
He knows who he is. He's like, too bad. And probably the only reason he's playing is because he's a right-hander. And if it was it's a left-hander on the bump, and Nick Senzel's a right-hander. They just didn't want Gavin Cheese to play 2 lefties in a row. Speaking of left-handers, the guy we talked about earlier in right field is Dominic Fletcher, who we bat in 7th. Another guy we mentioned with the question there by Ian. Left fielder is Corey Jokes, batting 8th. And coming up in the rear is Brooks Baldwin, batting 9th, playing shortstop. Of course, starting pitcher is Jonathan Cannon, making a start tonight in San Francisco. And speaking of San Francisco, before we get to the Immaculate Grid, you guys have a favorite San Francisco band? I think I know what Vinny's favorite San Francisco band is.
I wonder what it could be, Herb.
I think I've been on those streets. And you know my favorite San Francisco band? I think both are going to bristle at it. It's a 90s band.
Well, then, yes, I will. But what is it?
Third Eye Blind.
Ooh.
Whoa, that was like you just tasted a dirty lemon or something like that. Third Eye Blind's great. No,
they've got like 3 songs.
That first album was great. Jarrett, your favorite San Francisco's Bay Area type of band or artist?
I mean, it's got to be Journey, right?
Okay.
Like,
I mean, it doesn't have to be, but I guess you picked.
I don't. No, I'm. There's Journey. I'm partial to a little bit of Jefferson Airplane too. So, but I feel like with the White Sox connection, the 2005 team, you got to pick Journey.
That's a good answer. And Vinny, your favorite San Francisco-based band?
That, Herb, of course, would be the Grateful Dead.
Exactly. It's a great area.
There's so many though. I mean, seriously, there's tons. I mean, that whole mid to late 60s thing that they cranked them out there. And, you know, Jared mentioned one of them with Jefferson Airplane, but you got, you know, Janis Joplin's band, Big Brother, Santana is a San Francisco band. So there's a whole roster. If you expand it to the Bay Area, you got all that kind of punk thing from the 90s there, whether that's Green Day or Rancid, who were both just here in town last week. So they've known what they're doing up there in the Bay Area for some time.
Indeed. And let's get to the Immaculate Grid. Yesterday we did the Immaculate Grid for White Sox and Houston Astros. Today we're of course doing White Sox and San Francisco / New York Giants. I was going to do the F-War thing we did yesterday, Vinny, but there are very few people that you would know in the top F-War for either of the teams in their histories. So I will start off with the top 10 White Sox home run hitters that also play for San Francisco Giants. So in their White Sox careers, the top home run hitters, I have 10 players that 8 of them you guys would definitely know, and they've been playing while you're around and alive. The other 2 are kind of harder, but one of them of those other 2 has been in a trivia or 2 on NBC Sports Chicago. So who wants to start with their guess on the top home run hitters in their White Sox careers that also played for the San Francisco or New York Giants?
Now, are we saying top home run hitters in a White Sox uniform, or
while
just
they're in their White Sox? No, while they're in the White Sox uniform, and they also had to play for the San Francisco Giants. Any guesses to start us off with?
Well, that takes out my first guess. So
who was that going to be?
Well, I was thinking Bobby Bonds, right? So
Bobby Bonds
did not. He
did not hit a bunch of home runs for the White Sox. Yes,
right.
But that's
what I was asking, like total career versus
And I see Edward saying Nelson Fox. No, he did not hit a bunch of home runs. You guys, it's very in your face. The guy that leads the charge is very, very well known, even to this day.
Well, that's good to know, but that's it. But I'm going to go with a different, not super well known to start this off. Herb, are you ready?
Yeah.
All right. Let's go with Ellis Burks.
Ooh, Ellis Burks did not make the top 10. He didn't have a lot of White Sox home runs.
How about Connor Gillespie?
Connor Gillespie, not in the top 10. The first guy is a catcher. That one should tell you guys the answer. Spent 1 year in San Francisco, a couple in Minnesota, Texas.
AJ
Pierzynski.
Herb, you're muted. Herb, you muted yourself.
AJ Pierzynski, yes, you're correct. 118 home runs in his White Sox career. The second guy, I love to watch him run. He's low flying around the bases. No one?
The one dog? No, Ray Durham.
Here we go. Ray Durham, number 2, with 106 home runs in his White Sox career. The guy that comes up last, and I can just give you guys if you guys don't have the answers. If you guys want to guess some more, Jared, any more players you want to guess? Like I said, there are 6 more that you should know that they're alive and you saw them play.
Is Melky Cabrera one of them?
Melky Cabrera is number 7, I believe. He had 39 home runs in his White Sox career.
Nicely done. The Milkman.
He does it. He was
I was trying to think of guys in the last 20, 30 years.
And Milkman, weirdly enough, had the same FWAR in his White Sox career as he had in his San Francisco career. 1 year in San Francisco, 4.8, and 3 years in White Sox, 4.8. So
wasn't he like the All-Star Game MVP that one
really
year
good.
he was in San Francisco?
Really good. Stole some money, did some steroids, allegedly. So he was good that year and got some money from the White Sox. I think $15 million contract per year in the 3 years he was here as the White Sox. One's a current major league manager. If you're thinking that way on the East Coast, you might not think of him as a White Sox, but he was also a Cub.
Davey Martinez.
He hit 27 home runs as a Chicago White Sox. Let me finish off the list so we can get to the pitchers. Alejandro De Haza, there it is. Ken Henderson, which you guys would have known. Melky Cabrera, Aaron Rowan, Gordon Beckham, Zeke Bonoro is the guy that is used in NBC Sports Chicago trivia. Juan Uribe is number 3, Ray Durham number 2, and of course Anthony John Brzezinski, the number 1 home run hitter.
Aaron Rowan. I'm upset I didn't get Aaron Rowan. I should have gotten Aaron Rowan and Uribe too. But those two guys.
Yeah. That's
now
the
pitcher. The pitchers are a little harder. I got the top 11 pitcher wins as White Sox that also had played for the San Francisco Giants. 4 of these guys, you guys saw play. All the rest.
Jake Peavy.
Jake Peavy is not here. He did
what?
Not. No. He is. Sorry. He is.
Yeah,
he's
come
10th.
on now.
Sorry. 36 wins in the Jake Masters career. I have the extra one, the 11th one I kept on here because he is White Sox. He is Cubs. And he's one of the greatest announcers or play-by-play or colorman ever.
Steve Stone.
Steve Stone is number 11.
Stone.
So there's 3 other ones that we should get, is what you're saying on here?
3 other ones that that you guys have looked this person in the eye and talked to him about pitching.
Wow.
Recently. Maybe even this past weekend. That was a good hit.
I'd say so.
Yes. Well,
not this past weekend, the past week.
Oh.
Sorry. This past week. My bad.
Wait.
This past week, last week when the Yankees came to town.
Oh, well, that's not who I was thinking.
Oh, Carlos Rodon.
Carlos Rodon is number 7.
Rodon.
Yes, we did not talk to him. I don't think anybody talked to him last week.
Hard Carl is not one to be talked to. That's weird.
I don't know. I think with all the Sizemore stuff, I don't know if anybody made the trip across the field to talk to Rodon.
There are one other guy that was in the White Sox in the recent Cubs and White Sox actually. So he's got.
I was going to say I haven't talked to him in a while, but Quintana.
Jose Quintana, number 4 in wins, and the guy. All the rest of the guys, you guys probably wouldn't go, except for one other guy, which is the 3rd guy, is Wilson Alvarez. But let's put that list up there on the board. Steve Stone, Jake Peavy, Bob Shaw, I don't know who that is. Hoyt Wilhelm, back in the day. Carlos Rodon, Eddie Fisher, not that Eddie Fisher, this White Sox Eddie Fisher. Jack Harshman, Jose Quintana, Wilson Alvarez, Thornton Lee, and then Hall of Famer, White Sox Hall of Famer, Billy Pierce, with 186 wins in his White Sox career. So that is it, guys. How
about Hoyt Wilhelm? How about Hoyt Wilhelm with all those wins and all those saves? How about that?
Yeah, almost 100 saves in his White Sox career.
Saves.
Yeah, that was back in the day.
Billy Pierce, how did he have saves? They didn't even have saves back then, did they?
I don't know, but he got 21 of them.
Has Baseball Reference gone back and looked up guys who should have gotten saves, statistically?
Probably. I think saves, didn't come out until 73 or something like that.
Yeah.
And so, his career ended with the White Sox in 61. So, I think they probably went back to the game scores or the game box scores and assigned saves just like they kind of assigned FWAR and BWAR to players that never even knew about those things. Because if they did, they would have played to those stats instead of the stats of what we grew up with home runs, RBIs, and average, things like that. So,
well, I'm guessing then, is it then because bullpens weren't a thing until around then that we don't know someone was historically a great closer because there weren't closers until then? Is that the idea? If they've gone and added saves to people's old old-timey stats, has anybody amassed an amount of saves that are similar to the guys that we know as the all-time greats right now from the more modern times?
I'm sure there are, but yeah, like you said, like the saves were just failed closers back in the day. The people didn't have a great arm, and so maybe Billy Pierce, who threw almost 3,000 innings with the White Sox, Jesus Christ, his arm's just falling off. And I watched a documentary. I got an advanced copy of Greg Maddux. They're having a MLB Network docu-series coming up on Sunday. Mercy. I mean, Greg Maddux, his thing is just ridiculous. I, grew up at the time where Greg Maddux was a Major League Baseball player, and I was still not forgiving the Cubs for letting him get away in free agency, even though I'm not a Cub fan. But watching the documentary, that guy is just otherworldly, and he so much reminds me. And I have to ask whenever I get a chance, when I speak to Mark Burley, like that guy had to be his inspiration because he is exactly like him. But Maddux is, of course, the best right-handed pitcher in my estimation. And Mark Burley, while a great pitcher, isn't Maddux like, but is kind of that ilk. And so if you guys are looking forward to something to watch this weekend, Sunday night, MLB Network's having a Greg Maddux retrospective, him and the breakdown. I think you've seen the clips of him and Barry Bonds breaking down their at bat. There's more in the actual piece. There's like 2 more at bats that they both break down as tacticians of their craft. It's just a awesome documentary. So you guys mark your calendars now. MLB Network Sunday night will have that docu-series out. But that'll do it for CHGO White Sox. We are going to be joining you tomorrow at the same time, 5:30, to discuss what happened in Game 1 that is going on tonight versus the White Sox and the Giants, and also have some other things we will talk about after at 5:30. Give us a thumbs up, as Mark Allen Burley says down there. Give all these guys I follow on Twitter, at Vinnie Duber on Twitter, and at Jared Wyllys, or Jay Wyllys, Y's instead of I's on Twitter, and myself, Ecknerwall23. And I don't know if I mentioned it before, Sean is on a well-deserved vacation week off, so follow him at Sean_W_Anderson. He won't be tweeting a lot, but he's on a great vacation. He'll be joining us back on Sunday. So for Jared Wyllys, for Vinnie Duber, and our producer Lawrence Benedetto, I'm Herb Lawrence. Thank you for joining us on this episode of CHGO White Sox.
We all silly like the mayor.